Satchidanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvadidam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Egam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavaditam Trigunarehitam Satgurum. So welcome back again to Milpitas Satsang. I'm going to talk about an ancient mantra. Please, it applies to present day, don't worry. I'm not trying to look at skeletons which have been buried long ago. Something very live. Maybe 2000 years ago, a great rishi called Vishwamitra. Now Vishwamitra means what? Vishwa, world. Mitra, friend. Friend of the universe. Because he gave something which actually can be used by everyone. And therefore I think he is called the friend of the universe. Vishwamitra. In the Rig Veda, there is one particular mandala in which this occurs. And this is the, guess? Everybody knows Gayatri Mantra. This is the Gayatri Mantra. And in fact, the mantra is so important that the entire meter in which it is chanted is called the Gayatri meter. Gayatri is not sung, it's chanted. Why I'm saying this is, the other day I went to Kutch and somebody had a car, and when he was reversing, I was quite shocked. It said, Om Bhur Bhuvassu. Is this where you fit the Gayatri? The exhaust of a car. And that too in a song form. Gayatri is not sung, it is chanted in a particular meter. The Gita is a song, Gitam. The Gayatri is a mantra. Anyway, it doesn't matter. These are technical things. So, first, the mantra. Please, I hope people don't get worried that I'm giving it to everybody. I don't have to now, it's in the internet, so I'm saved from committing the mistake. If the lightning falls, it should fall on the internet, not on me. Now the mantra is Om. This is not how it's chanted, but let's discuss the mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Suva. Om Bhur Bhuva Suva. Not Saha, not Swaha, okay? Please. Some people think it is Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. It's not Swaha. Swaha is different. Om Bhur Bhuva Suva. Tat Savitr Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. This is the mantra. Well, there are other additions, but this is the main body of the mantra. Some people add some things. Paro Rajase, Shavadom and things like that, but this is basically the Gayatri mantra. Now, let's start looking at it carefully. First, like all mantras, most mantras, it has the pranava, which is the Om. Now, pranava means that which gives energy, prana, to something. So, Om, generally, it's incumbent on all these mantric structures to have Om in the beginning. So, you have Om. So, let's look into Om first and then go into Bhur Bhuva Swa. Because Bhur Bhuva Swa is not a sentence, these are three sounds that represent something. So, let's start with Om first. By now I'm sure most of you know that Om is made up of 3 syllables and so on and so forth. That means A for creation, U for preservation, and Ma for destruction, which means destruction here means transformation. Because if the old doesn't go, the new cannot come. So it's transformation. Right. Now, why is it called so? Because, no, that's one meaning of Om. There's another meaning of Om, which is discussed in the Mandukya Upanishad, on which the great Gaudapada wrote intensive commentary. And he went so deep into Vedanta that some people suspect he was a Buddhist. Well, he was not. But, so, in the Mandukya Upanishad, the Mandukya means a frog. We will not go into that now. The Mandukya, Manduk is frog. So there can't be somebody called Mandukya Rishi. Not possible. So anyway, so the Mandukya Upanishad describes Om in a slightly different way. The three syllables are of course admitted, but the A, the first sound, is the waking state of consciousness, which is common to all human beings. At some point we do wake up, right? We're not always sleeping. So waking state is common to all human beings. And it is represented by the sound A, because A is the simplest sound which even a small baby or even a dumb person cannot utter. A. So it represents the ordinary waking state, and as soon as a child is born into this world, it makes A. Of course it may ngong, but it's basically A, the first sound. Now, it also means, you know, in Sanskrit, the word in English you call A, B, C, D as the alphabet, because it is alpha, beta and so on. In Sanskrit, A, the first sound A, and the whole of the alphabet is called Akshara, starting with A. Now Akshara means indestructible. In Sanskrit, you put an A before any sound. Kshara is destructible. Akshara, that which cannot be destroyed. So A is the first sound which represents the indestructible reality from which everything proceeds. And it represents also, in connection with the human being, the waking state of consciousness, which is common to all humanity. You may be anybody, but you wake up, I hope, sometimes. And then the U of Om. This is exactly what I said. Then I have to start again? No. Okay. So, A, U. Now the sound U is usually pronounced from the middle of the tongue. U. And U represents the dream state, which is also common to all human beings. We all dream. We dream at night. We also daydream during the day. Many of our schemes are worked out by daydreaming. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying it is so. So dream is an integral part of the human life, human consciousness. What we cannot work out in waking state is usually worked out in the dream state. If I want to catch somebody and give them a slap, if I can't do it in the waking state, in the dream state, a dream is created where I'm slapping somebody. It's basically an expression of all the subconscious thoughts in your mind in an expressive form. In fact, people say, the sleep scientists say that in sleep you're kind of schizophrenic because you jump from one experience to another and it all comes together. Now this dream state is also called Tejasa, that which is lit, because you're sleeping with your closed eyes, it is dark, but all the dreams are full of light. They're in light, they're not in darkness. You see everything. So they have a natural light in them, so they're called the Tejasa, the shining one, that which is lit. So this is the U. Then, and dream is a wonderful thing, you know. When you dream, actually when you're dreaming, you don't know it's a dream. I mean, rarely it happens, but generally when you're dreaming, it's so real, you don't know it's a dream. It's only when you wake up you say it was a dream, not before that. Some great rishi said, one great rishi said, what if now, probably we are in a long dream. If I tell you you're dreaming, you won't believe it, because in the dream you won't believe it's a dream. And when you wake up, you might say one day, what a long dream. Depends upon how your life is, you may say pleasant or unpleasant. You won't believe it now, because you're dreaming. No, you're not dreaming, now you're awake, sorry. I hope. So, waking state, dream state, you know, suppose you dream and a tiger is chasing you. Rare, not possible in the United States. In India, there's still tigers. A tiger is chasing you. You're running for your life. You wake up, there's no tiger. But it was so real. Your heart is still palpitating, you're perspiring. You might even look to see if it's there. It's so real. So this state, which is waking and then dream. So there is and there is U. Then you have the the last part. Once you shut your mouth, oh. Anything new to be created, you need to open your mouth again. After saying oh, we cannot say anything. And then you have to open your mouth and start again. So it's end. Now what does that represent? The Mandukya Upanishad says it represents deep sleep. Deep sleep is that part of the sleep that comes to you, to use a medical term, after the REM, rapid eye movement sleep, where you dream. After dream comes the deep sleep. Everybody goes through these phases. And in deep sleep, you're not even aware of anything inside or anything outside. There's no inner cognition, there is no outer cognition. The reason why we feel rested and rejuvenated is because we don't even know we exist. The moment I exist, I have my own problems. And in sleep, everybody is equal. The person who works in the garden, the cook, the chauffeur, the security man, the owner of the house, the chairman of the company, everybody in sleep is equal. Another place we are equal is the washroom. After talking profound Vedanta, I also go to the same washroom, because we are equal. In the same way, you think I don't? I do. In deep sleep, we have forgotten everything, including our own existence. However, it seems there is some element which is experiencing it in some way, because when we wake up, you know, this usual deep sleep, we say, oh, that was a blissful sleep. So in the state before waking up and getting up immediately from deep sleep, there is a feeling that I have been in a blissful state. But you don't realize it at that point. So that means at that point there had been a witness, but the witness was, you were not aware of it at that moment. But that's when everything is shut down, silent. So Om therefore represents the waking, dream and deep sleep, and not over. Because when you say Om, or when you write Om, on the top you see a crescent-like thing with a small dot on the top. That is called the Ardhamatra, the half sound. So when you say, you don't say Om and stop it, unless you are angry. I know an ashram in the Himalayas where people don't want to call each other by the name. So they call each other Om. But the Om differs according to the mood. If you're in a good mood, they say, Om, how are you? If you're angry, Om, come here. So, it can happen in the Himalayas, it can happen anywhere. Anyway, so the last sound of Om, which is Om, like the ringing of a bell, which continues, is what the Rishis called, what the Upanishads called, the Turiya. Which means that it is not the waking state, or the dream state, or the deep sleep state, but that which is the witness of all the three states, but is not involved in anything. When you're awake, it's the witness. When you're dreaming, it's the witness. In deep sleep, it probably was witnessing, because you always say it was a blissful sleep. So if you want to define Turiya, it's difficult. People have attempted, so I don't want to attempt and fail. But Turiya, if at all there is a definition to it, would be to think of a state where in deep sleep you're awake. Not possible. You can't reach Turiya through deep sleep, then it would have been wonderful. It's when everything else is silent and there is only pure awareness. This is Turiya. And this awareness is because of this awareness that we are in the waking and the dream and the deep sleep state. Without this awareness, one would be unconscious. So this is the Om. So in the Gayatri, after the Om come the three syllables, Bhu, Bhuva, Swa. Now actually Bhu is the short form of Bhuloka, this world. And when you say Bhuloka, it actually means the waking state of this world. So this Om complements the Bhu, Bhuvaswa. And the Bhuvarloka, the next plane, is the dream state. And Swa, a short form of Swargaloka. It's in deep sleep that you are in Swarga, in heaven. So, Om Bhur Bhuvaswa, the deep sleep is. So, the sound of Om covers all these three states and continues into the Turiya state, where the sound is less of a physical sound than a vibration of awareness. So the first sentence of the Gayatri, you see how profound it is, that it represents entire life, all states of consciousness at one go. And therefore when you say Om, also practically, if you chant the Gayatri, it affects all the three states of your existence, not just the waking state, although you might be chanting in the waking state. A chanting of a mantra becomes what they call in the mantra shastra a siddhi, or a reality, when the mantra has so ingrained in your system that even when you are asleep, the mind is chanting it inside. And Om is something that, whether you chant or not, continues to reverberate, waking, dream and deep sleep. When you understand that, then you are in Turiya. So you see what is Omkar, Satnam. is the one word which is the truth. And Bhur Bhuvaswa is a definition of its three states of existence. We'll not get into this about if there are other worlds or not, though I believe so, but let's think of this world as it is, with waking, dream and deep sleep. Sufficient. Unto the day is the evil thereof. So, then we come to the body of the mantra, the actual prayer. After saying this, and after making sure that the mantra penetrates all the three states of existence, the Rishi then gives the body of the mantra, the meaning of the mantra, Vishwamitra. And the mantra is like this: Tat Savittar Varenyam. Varenyam means, what in Tamil you say Vanakkam. Varenyam, I worship Varenyam. I bow down to Tat, that. Now this Tat is a very important word in the ancient writings. Tat means that, which is the essence of the universe. And the Upanishadic Rishi said that the good news is that Tat Tvam Asi, you are part of that Tat. You're not different from it. What they was trying to say is that you're not sheep, but you're lions, but you've forgotten that you're lions. There's this story about how a lion cub got lost in the forest during the hunting process. The sheep saw this little cub. They felt very bad, so they took the cub and they trained the cub. And the cub lived with them. Instead of making it made bah. That's what it learned. I don't know how this can be done, but it's a story, okay? Don't give it too much. And then one day, the goats were in the forest when a huge pride of lions attacked. So this little fellow, who had all by then grown a little bit, also started running with the goats, which is tongue out. The lion saw this. He said, hey, this is one of us, this guy. So why is he running? So they grabbed him and brought him up and said, hey, you're not a sheep. Why are you running away? You're like us. He said, bah. They said, come on. So they took him to a water body and pressed him down and showed him his face. He said, can you see this? You're not like, you're different. So, and then he understood. This was Swami Vivekananda's favorite story. So why did I start this story? Tat. So you are you are that. Singa. Singapore is called Singapore because of the Singam, the lion. Tamil influence, of course. Anyway, so Tat is that, the supreme reality. And Tvam means are, you. Asi, are. You are that. So Tat has a very important significance. Tatvamasi basically means what is there is also here, but you don't know it, basically. If you know it, then all barriers are separated. And if you see it everywhere, then all are one. There is no difference. Politically, economically, all attempts to make everybody equal and one have failed over the world. But we say that there is one way of looking at it, which is in the heart, in the core of everybody's consciousness, there is that. And since everybody has it, we are all one. Although we look different from outside. We have to, otherwise I can't recognize you. Imagine we are all clones, same looking. So it's okay, prakaroti iti prakriti. Prakriti is that which separates, which divides. So, That is Tat. There was this great Yogi who used to live, was from the Nath Sampradaya, my tradition, who lived in Bombay in the back streets. His name was Nisargadatta Maharaj. When I was very young, it was during his last days of his life, I went to see him. He was still sitting in a little tobacco shop, the back streets. So I told him that there is a book called I Am That, written by somebody. He said, I heard, koi Angrez ne likha. He said, and then I asked him, I told him, so is that right? I am that? Then he said, but I am this. This. When you know you're this, then you're that. Anyway. So this is Tat, that supreme reality that pervades everything here and now, not in the past or in the future. So why I'm saying this is, look at this Gayatri mantra, we think it's just 4 lines. So, Tat, that, Savitar, that all-pervading controller of the universe, the intelligence of the universe. Varenyam, I bow down to, I worship. Bhargo devasya dhimahi, repetition in a different way, that effulgent being, Bhargo, devasya, deva, that divinity, that effulgent divinity, dhimahi, I meditate upon. Diyo yona prachodayat, may my intelligence be stimulated. Because until the intelligence is really stimulated, which means the rishis did not ask us to put our intelligence in cold storage and believe everything that everybody says. Stimulate your intelligence means to keep your intelligence sharp and clear. The Gayatri mantra itself asks for it. Why? Because according to the Upanishad, the most intelligent man very soon discovers the limitations of his intellect. But you have to be intelligent to discover it. Otherwise you might say, no, I know everything. I'm an intelligent man. But the real intelligent man or woman very soon discovers the limitations up to which your ordinary intelligence of your conditioned brain can go. So, the Gayatri mantra is an invocation to the supreme reality called Tat, which is referred to as Tat, and which is the intelligence that controls, that moves the universe, which is also in us as our inner self, and which covers all the states of consciousness from waking to Turiya. It's an invocation to say, stimulate this so that I can come face to face with the reality. So, from childhood you are taught how to chant the Gayatri. So you learn how to chant it. Nobody chants it nowadays, that's a different matter. I sometimes get people who come to me and say, can you teach me a mantra chanting? So I ask them, what's your name? Vishwanath Iyer. Okay. So somebody taught you the Gayatri when you were young? Yeah, but that was many years, I forgot. Tell him, look, some people don't get it, you got it, and you don't chant it, and you're asking me for a mantra. And that's also very funny. He says, I used to chant, I started with the Gayatri mantra. I said, oh, wonderful, then what happened? Then I forgot about it, and you know what, I used to so many things. To take the dog for a walk, play tennis and so on. So there was no time. So I forgot to tell him that I also take the dog for a walk. And then he said he gave up. Then he said he chanted another mantra, For 30 years I have been chanting a mantra. I said, wonderful, then there must be something. Then he said, then I took up Namah Shivaya. Okay, fine. Then I chanted it for 6 weeks. And then somebody told me the Buddhist mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, is better. So I took it up. So in this 30 years, he has changed this mantra 60 times. And now he's saying nothing is happening. I said, what do you expect to happen? If you need to find water in the ground, you need to go in one place and dig deep. You can't dig here 10 feet, here 2 feet. Here. So if you already are chanting the Gayatri mantra, you don't require any other mantra, keep chanting. Understand what you're doing. Now, apart from the meaning which I described, the chanting of the mantra itself has a certain effect in the system. If the Gayatri is chanted, and if by any chance you are able to see things which are normally not seen, suppose, then you would probably see the mantra being a kind of shaft of very thin, minute light going into all hearts and then going forward. So it's not only meant for you, even though you chant silently, it's also meant for others. Which is why the Rishi Vishwamitra, the friend of the universe, gave this wonderful mantra to us. So, here I rest my case. The case which was taken up was the Gayatri mantra. Here I rest my case. Now it's up to you. If you need any clarification or any questions regarding this, we can certainly discuss it. But we'll discuss it, not argue about it. There's a difference between argument and a dialogue. If you want to have a dialogue.
Guruji, you mentioned the mantra talks about stimulating our intelligence. So what can we do to stimulate our intelligence?
Chant. Chant. See, okay, when I say stimulate the intelligence, it doesn't mean that to think that I am the most intelligent person or anything of that kind. When I say stimulate, the first thing about your intelligence moving forward, the first sign, the Upanishad said beautifully, he who knows, knows not, and he who knows not, knows. Which means, the first thing in the starting of intelligence is to understand that I don't know, so that I can try to figure out. The problem is when I know too much. You know what I mean? Look at the scientific discoveries we have had in this world. Forget about spiritual matters for the time being. How did somebody discover something new when he said, I don't know? If he said, oh, I know, I don't want to look at it. So, the attitude of humility that comes when you know that you really need to find out, that you don't know, and that carrying too much knowledge is not required. Google has all knowledge nowadays. You don't have to carry the burden in your head. You go click and you get, maybe right or wrong, that's a different matter. So, intelligence is not gathering information. These are two things. I hope you understand one. You can gather as much intelligence as you want. Information as you want, but intelligence is that critical understanding by which you look at the problem and you're able to solve it. And when you really begin to understand, then you also begin to understand the futility of trying to solve an infinite thing with a finite brain. And then you settle down quietly. This is the meaning of stimulating the intelligence. Not stimulating information gathering, but stimulating the capacity to know, to understand. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Think about it.
Pranam Guruji. In chanting Gayatri Mantra, whether any special technique of chanting is there? Secondly, whether any breathing system or one breath or two breath or three breath in Gayatri Mantra is required?
I'm a little worried about explaining, there might be experts here, I don't know. But as I was taught to chant it, there is a particular meter in which the Gayatri is chanted, and it's like this. I have a YouTube video, you can check on that, but it's simply very simple. It's Om Bhurbhuvassuva Tat Savitarvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. This is the chant. Don't ask me to repeat it. This is the chant. Now, you said, is there a breathing to it? When you chant the mantra, your prana is automatically adjusted into a certain rhythm. So if you keep chanting, it will get adjusted. But, however, you would have noticed that when you do, if somebody is doing an elaborate chanting of the mantra and doing Sandhya Vandana, I don't know if people know that there are 3 Sandhyas, not 2. Morning one Sandhya. There is also a midday Sandhya when the shadows begin to lengthen. And then there is the evening, which is twilight. Okay? So, when you chant, you'll see people usually doing something with their fingers, breathing, in the nostrils. So, first the nadis are cleared by alternate breathing, which is breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So, when this is done for a few rounds, then the energies become balanced. And when they're balanced, then you chant the mantra in a particular meter. You can do it silently, you don't have to chant it loud. There are 2 ways of looking at it. One is to chant it thinking that there is a light and a lotus on the top of your head. The other way is to think that Gayatri, either as Devi or as a light, is inside your heart and you're chanting with your hands there. Different ways of doing it. This is roughly what you can do.
So my request is, can you please share, as we have 24 hours and such a busy life that we are going through, how best we can spend our time to progress towards experiencing one and the same, or experiencing enlightenment?
I can only say that while you need to look after yourself and survive in this, if I may say, tumultuous world, which is okay, but what you have to think is there's something very important for us to find, apart from other things. If there is a strong and serious yearning, craving to find that which is permanent, seeing the impermanency of things, you don't have to go to a cave or go away into the forest, luckily, to find it. Those days are over. You have to stay where you are and try to find it. I mean, small periods of solitude are useful. I'm not denying that. But you can't stay ever forever in solitude. You have to come out and face the world. Right? So, what I would suggest, I mean, it's very simple, common sense. If you're serious about it, set apart a small part of your day. Start with a small part of your day. Preferably before the world catches you in the morning, before you've started getting upset with your boss or your employee or somebody. Early morning, there's nobody there, right? Unless if you and your wife are okay, then there is no problem. Otherwise, it can start as soon as you wake up. And then, find at least 15-20 minutes. I think that's not a tall order, 15-20 minutes. When you can shut the door and sit down quietly in your own room without disturbance, and then start some kind of practice by which your mind goes within. Because throughout the day it's outside, it's extrovert. Try to find some way that it can go within, introvert. So, You can either start with the chanting of Gayatri. If you find that difficult, you can just chant Om. Om is a wonderful thing to chant. You don't even have to think of the meaning of it. Just chant Om. And if you are not worried about others hearing, do it a little audibly. And because if you do it audibly, then you can yourself listen to the sound. Like say, Om. Give a little, don't go fast, slow it down and let the last syllable, which is ma, reverberate in the Ardha Matra for some time. Like, Om. Hear it, listen. Now, the other way of doing it is to have headphones. We are in a modern world, right? Have headphones and chant and listen to it. If you have headphones, other noises won't come in. Sit down. What we need today in the modern world is headphones wearing, internet savvy, jean clad yogis. You don't have to wear a loincloth to become a yogi. Okay? So, you can start like that. But please reserve the time for it. Don't let anything else come into this time. Say that this time I will do only this. Very soon you will begin to enjoy it so much that you will be worried that you are not doing it sometimes if you miss it. Then you are caught on. I hope it's a simple thing to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskaram Guruji. First of all, I'm really fortunate to be able to see you today. And through you are
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Srinivasa Venu.
How old are you?
I'm 37 years old. And,
I thought you were 25. Never mind.
So first of all, really fortunate to see you in person. And they say if you have seen the disciple, you've also seen the Guru. So through you, I definitely pay homage to the lineage of the Nath Masters. Kindly bear with me, it's a two-part question. I want to focus on the role of devotion because like you said, no matter how much knowledge you collect, it's not the way to go. How does one get to that ajapa japa state where the chanting is going on unconsciously, which means you have formed a personal relationship with the deity of the mantra. The second part of the question is, when somebody takes up a serious sadhana, whether it is kriya or a mantra, the karmic tap is definitely let loose, at which point both fortunate and unfortunate circumstances happen to the disciple. How can one cultivate an attitude where one is steadfast to the Guru? Thank you so much.
It's a tall question, but I think you're serious about this. The first part, the problem with me is that when I look at the second part, I forget the first. What was the first part of the question? Repeat.
Sure. The first part was the ajapa japa.
Okay, that's enough. Now, what is the meaning of ajapa japa? Which means, leave alone the question of the deity right now. Ajapa japa means you're doing, the japa is going on automatically in you without your even trying to deliberately do it. But that will come only if you do it deliberately first and keep doing it for a length of time. You can say you have succeeded in going to the depths of ajapa japa. Since you have taken up the topic, I am saying, I try to avoid this generally, is when you are in waking state, when you are in dream state, and even when you are in deep sleep, you would say, how do I know? I'll tell you. The chanting of the mantra is going on in your subconscious mind. I'm using the word subconscious mind, a modern terminology. Now, how do we know that you're chanting also in deep sleep? Because when you wake up, the first thought that will occur to you will be the mantra. If this has succeeded, if this has happened, instead of waking up first and saying coffee, if you say, wake up and say Ram Ram or whatever you're chanting, it doesn't matter. For all you know, you can even simply chant your own name. But if you can reach that state, then you have reached the siddhi. Then the deity is already present in your heart. That is the first part of it. I can give you an example of a lady who chanted this, who tried to chant the mantra. There was a very learned man living near Pudukkottai, near Tamil Nadu, who was a great scholar and yogi and so on. He got married at a young age. But since he was so caught up in his inner things and spiritual matters and scholarship and so on, they didn't have a child. He was not very interested, you can say. So one day his wife, who was a very intelligent lady, said to him, "Look, I thought you are also being a householder. One of the duties of a householder is also to expand into the world in the form of the progeny," is what the Manu says. And I feel that since you are a holy man and a great yogi, the child that comes may be a wonderful child. I mean, her way of persuading. So, why can't we have a child? So, we thought about it. We said, okay, I'm going to give you a mantra which you chant. Come to that state when even the first thing that occurs to your mind when you wake up will be the mantra. When you are in that state, then maybe then we can have a child. That will be nice. I love you. You are a beautiful lady. You are very beautiful, beautiful and dutiful. All right, but I would like you to look into this. She said, well, he didn't say, this is what it is. You understand what it is. So she said, okay. So they cooperated and a child was born. A stage came when she said to him, the first thing that occurs when I wake up is the mantra. In dream, very often I catch myself chanting it in the dream state. And in deep sleep, I don't know, but when I wake up, it's there. And it's the last thing I think of before I go to sleep. So he said, okay. They had a child, they had a son, who became Sadashiva Brahmendra, the great yogi. I don't know, many people might have heard of Sadashiva Brahmendra. If you're in the south, definitely you might have heard, but others have also heard. Even those who are into classical music would have heard of him, because he was a lyricist also. One of his wonderful songs, which is my favorite, is, not that it matters, is Tribore Ramarasa. A wonderful song. So anyway, so this is Ajapal. I'm just giving you an example. And what was your second question? Now I forgot.
The second question was, as one progresses on any serious sadhana, whether it's mantra...
Got it. Yeah, you're right. As one progresses into serious sadhana, sometimes you have obstacles which come in the form of situations which are troublesome. True. Not always necessary, but in some cases they happen. In some cases they happen because the mind is trying to test to see if I'm really going to stay on the path or not. Am I so serious that I will leave it at the slightest temptation? The other is perhaps you're trying to work out what you might have worked out in 10 lives together. Maybe. Now, the point is that when you're faced with such a situation, if you're firm in your sadhana, while you should try to repair the outside, of course, as much as you can, but deep down, you don't get discouraged and move out of it. There are cases of even the greatest of yogis having sometimes felt a distraught. In the Western mystic system, it's called, I'm sorry, I'm not looking that side because he's asking the question. That doesn't mean anything. it's called the dark night of the soul. When one passes through, but the person who is going to progress, who will ultimately reach the goal, holds on no matter what happens. So have that thing in your faith in your mind that I am going to find it no matter what happens, and carry on with yourself. When you get the bliss and the happiness and the expansiveness of the ultimate goal, you would then say, oh, it was all worth it. Thank you.
Thank you for taking this question. I was trying to understand the literal meaning as you're describing the mantra. So Savitur Varenyam Savitur is the Shashti Vibhakti of the word Savitru, right?
Savitur means the controller.
Sorry?
The controller.
Controller.
Yeah.
I thought, isn't it Surya then?
Surya, yes. Surya is called Savitur because it is the center which controls this whole system, solar system. And is the central light which falls upon all of us equally, no matter who we are or what we are.
Right. But Savitur Varenyam is the Surya's Varenyam, Surya special, right? The meaning of Varenyam is...
Varenya means to worship actually.
To worship.
To worship. It means I bow down, I offer my respects to Surya. I mean, it's, if you consider Savitar as only Surya, but the Surya that you see is only a visible representation of the Supreme Surya.
Then how does the word Tat, how does the word Tat Savitur Varenyam, that make sense in this context?
We won't go into hair-splitting arguments,
yes.
But Tat Savitar means that Supreme Reality I go down to.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. It was confusing me, so.
Not to be confused.
The next question I have is how does chanting a mantra or repeatedly doing it, how does that itself produce any effect? How can that, because is there something more to it than just repeating it?
Absolutely. See, what happens is, our mind is always occupied by so many extraneous things. Some of them may be necessary to us, I understand, but we are so occupied. When you fix your attention in the chanting of one single sound or one mantra, these energies which are normally dissipated in numberless things are brought together in one place. This is the reason why Krishnamurti said you can also chant Coca-Cola, but I'm not very happy with that. I don't think so. Each mantra has its own sound and effect and vibration. This is how I have understood it. But what it means is, well, if you chant Coca-Cola, you'll be thinking of Coke. You understand? So what you chant defines what you're thinking about. When you chant something deep like Om, then you're moving towards something that is inside, in the core of your being, and not any external substance.
Pranam Shriyam. My name is Abhishek. I'm from Varanasi. I live here.
From
Varanasi.
Varanasi?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I live close to, not very far from Lahiri Maharsh's place. I've been there several times. My question today is very tactical on the Gayatri Mantra as you were talking about it. So maybe two things. One is if you look at the overall process more like a little bit onto the karma kand side. So there is like other things like vinyog, nyas, shapna vimochan, and a lot of other things, right?
Yes.
So first question is that are those all necessary for like a complete chanting of this thing, or just the chanting is sufficient?
Well, if you ask an orthodox man who's sitting in Banaras, not you, you come out, he would say, yes, it is necessary to go through the entire structure of Sandhya Vandana. It includes everything. However, today in this world, where we don't have time, I am saying at least leave that aside. Do the pranayama, okay, which brings your prana to a certain level of purification, and chant the mantra. That should be sufficient. And then later on, when you get some time, go through the whole Sandhya Vandana. It's not a bad, it's a wonderful thing to do. But at least, why don't you chant?
Yes, that's my second part of the question. So I do chant. The problem that I have seen is that, so I chant whenever, like, I don't chant at a specific time every day. I don't.
You should chant at specific time.
Yeah, so what I do is whenever I take shower, I chant, like I do puja and chant at that time, and I do that at different times of the day. Is that really a big problem? Because
it's not a big problem. However, if you want any change to take place inside, then you fix a good time to chant it and do only that at that time. Let it not become a frivolous thing like chanting during the bath and so on. Make it very serious. While it's okay to chant, I'm not saying you should not, but when you chant, try to fix the morning time, which is a very good time, and chant during that time. Try to keep some timing.
Thank you.
And when you go back to Banaras, when you go sometimes, sit quietly somewhere near the Ganga and do the entire nyasa, karanyasa.
I don't even know how to do that. I'm just asking that, like, that's the process.
If I come to Banaras, I can. Ask one of the pandits.
Thank you.
Hello.
That's the smallest student I have today. Yeah.
My name is Shivani.
Shivani?
Yeah. I wanted to know, is it possible for kids to at least get a little bit towards mantras and stuff?
Toward? Mantra?
Towards being good at mantras and stuff, like doing it.
Is it possible for kids to do it?
Yeah.
This is what you're asking. How old are you?
9.
9 is a good age. 9 is a wonderful age because you're just moving out a little bit from the exact definition of a kid and going towards your teens. It's very soon, right? So you can chant the Gayatri. Fix some time, chant the Gayatri. If you keep chanting, you will see that there's an all-round improvement in many things. Even your memory will improve. When you sit down to study, you'll find that it's clearer. If you say, I don't know, you have to chant and figure out for yourself. The proof of the pudding is in the eating it. Right? So I think so. Thank you. What's your name?
Shivani.
Shivani.
Namaste Guruji. Well, I'm very happy to see you here. It's so kind of you to come all the way. And the question, you have already answered my question. When somebody asks what we can do to improve our state of life, how we can do sadhana. If you would be kind enough to say a few more words beyond, setting a specific time and sitting, if you will teach us something more beyond that, be so kind of you.
Are you fiddling with the idea that I might teach Kriya? I mean, just asking. because we can't do that like this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
However, there is one beginning exercise of Kriya, which I think anyone can start with without much ado. And this, which what we call the Hamso technique. Now this Hamso can be practiced, can be taught, even like, and I've decided that I'm going to do it. If somebody wants to put the karmic effects, I'm ready to take it. But I think it's about time we let it out to people to practice. And so for the Hamso It's something which you can practice regularly, apart from your chanting, if you're doing any. Or you can just do the hamsa. And how do you do that is very, very simple. First, when you sit down, but find a time, earlier the better, in the morning, and then sit down quietly and visualize in the center of your chest a beautiful white lotus. You can think of any color, but I like white lotus. Think there's a beautiful light inside that, shining. And then close your eyes and say, Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. I bow down to the Supreme Guru. Guru here is Vaheguru, the Supreme Being, not me. So, Om Hrim Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Oh, Hrim is also not necessary. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Okay? Chant that for 5 minutes. Don't even count. 5 minutes. Then, forget about the lotus, forget about all that. Shut your eyes and take a slow and deep breath like this. While you breathe in, with your mind, mentally chant the sound of hum. Hold your breath for half a minute and breathe out. When you breathe out, chant the sound of saw. Saw, as I am pronouncing, saw. So do this hum saw very slowly, no hurry. This is not Bhastika, I don't have to go up and down like an engine. Go very slowly, hum very slowly, saw. This hum saw should go on for 10 minutes. I'm saying how to start off. I'm not saying you should do only for 10 minutes. You start 10 minutes. Then sit quietly for some time. I don't want to prescribe the time, just sit quietly after you've done this. Fix your attention here and sit quietly. And then when you think it's time to go, bow down and touch your head to the ground and again say Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. That is one exercise which you can do every day. Anybody can do.
I have 2 questions.
I thought you'd have one. Anyway.
What is your favorite flower?
Huh?
What is your favorite flower?
My favorite flower? My favorite flower is the lotus.
Okay. And the second question is, there was a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, who said that you control how you let...
Control?
How you let suffering, like, how it makes you feel.
I saw it, you mailed me.
So my question is, how do you do that? Like, how do you keep your mind calm in the face of suffering?
How do you do that is not a very good question. Do it is the right question. Which means, understand that no matter what happens in the outside world, while we try to solve it in some way, even if it doesn't get solved, deep down the core of your consciousness is not affected by anything. It's a spark of the divine. Nothing can touch it. So keep this in mind, that if somebody praises you, it's a deliberate act, not a philosophical thought. If somebody is praising you, don't get too carried away by it. The same person who praises you might curse you tomorrow. So don't worry too much. Don't get carried away. At the same time, if somebody is insulting you, don't pay much attention to it. Because it doesn't matter what others say. We should say, I know what I am and where I stand. I don't care. It's not a non-caring attitude. It's the way of keeping the mind insulated from outward circumstances. So, the same way, this world, we can't expect happiness to be there always. There will be some sorrow. Right? Even when sorrow ceases, it's a happiness, that gap. So there is some sorrow. And so therefore we should say that this is normal. Sorrow will come. Happiness also will come. So can we treat both of them equally and say, look, I'm not caught with you. Put it this way, sorrow comes, don't push it off. Pull a chair and say, sit down. Have a cup of tea. Make sorrow your friend. Have a cup of tea. Namaste, now you can go. Happiness comes, don't give too much time. Sit down, have a cup of tea. Salam, move. You know what I mean? So this is a daily practice, not philosophy. If one does this, then I think gradually one would be able to handle this. Plus, the practices by which you can go into the core of your consciousness. It is important, right? Thank you.
Pranam, sir.
Hello, yes.
My name is Shiva.
I know.
A few years ago, you've taught me a few kriyas, which I've been following quite well. I found that I can't do the repetition of any mantras after the kriya.
Okay.
You know, before, so I would do the kriya yoga first, I mean, the few things you taught me. And after that, I would focus, but after the focus, there's very little I can do, because I can't focus. The mind is not able to...
what happens at that time?
It looks like the mind got zapped. It's just in one point. It's just doing something. I mean,
So
it's
don't
not
chant.
doing what I want.
So don't chant.
At that point, no, I was not. I can't start chanting after that. If I have a chanting thing, I would do it before the kriya.
That's absolutely.
What exactly happened? You know what I'm saying? Something nice is happening.
No, yes. So
What
which
exactly
means
is-
your mind is refusing to get caught in any structure. Allow it to be. Don't then try to force the mind to chant. After all, the chanting is meant to take you there. And if you're touching something which is kind of broken away from all structures, including the chanting, then don't try to force the mind to go to the chant. Do all your chanting before. That is the pratibandha.
All it seemed like the mind was just empty and I'm unable to think.
You shouldn't think. Why would you think? Thinking is the worst problem here. It is thought that destroys us. So it's good that it settles down and remain quiet. At least you can feel that you are there, right? There's a witness. Stay with the sakshi. I think you are progressing then. That means you are practicing kriya regularly, I hope. It's 3 years now?
Yes, sir.
And I'm very happy that you don't in between come and see me. I'm very happy. My main thing is the practice. In other words, you give kriya and every next second day they are there standing here. I mean,
Namaskaram Guruji. Namaskaram to your holy feet. Sai Ram. So you were talking about Gayatri Mantra and you said there are Vishwanatha years who have been given, who have forgotten.
I was just...
No. But question is, what about us? Can we also start chanting or should it be given as a diksha?
100%. We chanted the Gayatri today.
Yes.
You heard it?
Yes, sir.
We described it in detail.
Yes.
Consider this as your diksha.
Sai.
Now, when you say diksha, what does it mean? Diksha means to show the way.
Yes. Okay.
So it need not necessarily be whispering in a dark room. You know what I mean? It means like the word initiate.
Yes.
You initiate a process and people will come and say, but you haven't initiated me. Which means I haven't shut the door and whispered in the dark.
No, my understanding was when the whispering happens is when the energy...
I have whispered now.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Because there's a sound system, it became loud.
Thank you.
No, sorry, I'm not taking it lightly, I'm serious. Oh, there's a young man here.
Hi, my name
Hi.
is Vyas. I'm 7 turning 8. I'm 7 turning 8. My question is, my dad said that you've seen God. I want to also see God. How do I? My dad said that you've seen God. I also want to see God.
So?
Huh?
So what can I do for you?
Could you tell me how?
Wow. I'm so glad that from the age of 7 people are asking this question. At least somebody is asking this question. I'm really very happy. I started asking only at the age of 8 or 9. So you are 7 and you're asking this question. You have a long way to go, but that you're asking the question, I would suggest first to start with. I have written a book called it's my autobiography. Since you are a young man, I think it will be interesting to start with stories. Huh? So when you are a little fed up of Harry Potter, you read my autobiography. It has as much entertainment as required. And then as you read it, you will begin to find something there. Then talk to your dad about it. And then talk to me about it. I have an email, I can give it to you, so you can take it from anybody here. You can ask uncle to give you. Take the email and please email it to me. Keep in touch. I'm very glad. Where do you live? Where are your parents now? Here?
My mom's right behind me.
So, huh?
My mom's right behind me.
Your mom? Don't worry, I'm not taking him away anyway. He's fine as he is, where he is. But he's interested, so I'm trying. Is it okay? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Pranam Guruji. So throughout my life, I've met many masters, and some in body, and some are no more. And I've had deep experience in the sense that I've learned a lot from them. However, there's been one thing that I feel like I'm missing, is that deep intimacy between a guru-sishya relationship you talk about in your talks, or the one that I've read from Autobiography of Yogi. And I feel that there's a lack of that, and day and day I find that that's becoming a deep yearning for me these days. And my question is, can a mantra, for example, actually a few months ago I started doing Gayatri. Just from a random talk of you, I've heard your Gayatri mantra lecture, and I started doing it. But the question that I have is, can this mantra lead me to finding that guru, or the relationship, and the yearning that I'm yearning for?
Have you met me before?
I've never met you before.
Never.
It's through a flyer and a temple.
Okay. And when did you start chanting the Gayatri?
Few months ago.
Yeah. So you have come here now?
Yes.
And you met me?
Yeah.
So leave it there at the moment. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Okay? I'm worried about saying, okay, I'm taking you, because there are many ladies I have to take care of. I mean, also men, sorry. So I'm a little careful. So let it be. Keep in touch.
So a mantra can lead someone
Yes, it has.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for being here. I'm happy that you've been listening attentively. I know you have other things to do, and it's a Sunday, but still. So thank you very much. I hope you take into your mind the things that we discussed today. When you go home, think about it. See, I always say I don't have ready-made solutions, but I have food for thought. So go back and think, and each person, depending on their background and various things, might come out with a different interpretation of what I said, which is okay. Thank you.